Synth Network.
Hello everyone, it's just gone 8 PM here in the UK, Sunday 6th of December. It is episode 36 of the Pro Synth Network live show, and yeah, we're here and we're up and running. Cryss has literally just dropped into the room after taking a nature break, I'm sure, and a cup of coffee and a shot of something, and we've even got a very special unannounced guest because he was having so much trouble getting onto Jamie's show. We thought, hey, well, we need our weekly fix of Marshall, so we've got Marshal Arnold with us. Marshall, how are you?
Doing good. Thanks for having me on, guys.
No, thanks for coming.
It's glad things are working here.
So. Yes, yeah. Let's don't talk too soon.
Right.
Still getting used to all this new technology. Cryss, how are you, sir?
Oh, I'm doing all right. I'm just trying to get this damn webcam to work correctly and the funny colors and all that. So give me a moment. Give me a moment here.
At least you're here. At least you're here. And Ben, how are you, sir?
Very well, thank you. Very well.
Good.
Had some good fun investigating today's topics and made some good discoveries. I'm looking forward to discussing them.
Good. Yeah. Well, we'll come on to the topic. Actually, I must admit, I put out a message to Cryss and Ben earlier about 2 days ago. Oh, we've got no topics. It's a really slow news week. What are we going to talk about? And so we sort of scrabbled through. We've kind of come up with, hopefully, a bunch of things, some of which you've probably heard. And that's the downside of us being on a Sunday is that, you know, like Nick Bat on a Wednesday and then Rands on a Saturday and Jamie before us kind of get first dibs on all the good news. Unless something drops at the weekend or they miss it, you know, we're lucky to kind of pick up the scraps. But hopefully it won't be too repetitive for you, and of course I'm sure you guys will all love to chip in. So before we go ahead and start on those, let me just remind you first of all that if you want to donate to the show, which we have had a raft of absolutely wonderfully generous donations so far, the link is in the description below. It's also on your screen right now. So if you want to click on that link, it's just a PayPal donation page, please. If you feel like you enjoy what we do and you want to donate, that would be fantastic, and it helps us keep the show going and the platform running and everything, so that's cool. During the show, if you want to partake of a little bit of fun, did I change that? Yes, I'm pretty sure I changed that link. Native VS does a little bingo card for us, so you can play along with PSM bingo, listen to hopefully what we say, keeps you paying attention, and there's a little bit of fun. There's no prizes, it's just chat room fun. A little bit later we'll also be talking about our weekly poll discussion, which was all about non-musical tools in the studio, apart from yourself, because I'm definitely a non-musical tool in my studio. So if you want to do that, and of course you can always join us on our Facebook page, where you just search for Pro Synth Network in Facebook. You will get directed to us over there. Let's say hello to the chatties. So who have we got? We've got Native VS, of course. We've got Aaron, who's known as Imperfect. Marshall, of course, is in there, and everyone else. Jupiter Boy 74, Sasquatch, Paul Artola, who else? Mike Delic.
Phil Green.
I think I saw Andrew Brooks in there. Atto Z.
Andrew Dixon.
Sinister Goatfish. Love that name. And I think that's. But if you are watching the show or you're watching it on catch up, thanks for tuning in, and we really appreciate your patronage as per usual. So let's crack on. Unless anybody has got anything else they want to add to that. Let's talk about some of these news topics that that may have been discussed elsewhere, but who cares? We'll crack on with this. So the first one is quite an interesting little thing because I do like my physical modelling, and this is the Anyma.II or Anyma.II. I'm not entirely sure how that's correctly pronounced. I'm sure the lady in the video does say so later. But this is his Kickstarter campaign by Adio, I don't know, instruments, and you can back them. 349 euros at the moment. There's only 20 of those left. That's a 30% discount on the retail price, or 399 if you fancy paying them a bit more, or 799 if you want the sound design masterclass. And there's another one there for 1100 or 1200, which gets you some like one-on-one stuff, I think. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of things in there. It's this affordable hybrid monophonic synthesizer. Let's have a quick listen to that and hear what it sounds like. Interesting, they used Korg Prophecy as a controller. Let's skip through. That's a resonating strings demo. So strings are probably the most obvious one to model. There was another video there that had a bit more of a range of demonstrations. I'll try and find that later. But yeah, for your roughly sort of 400 euros, you get this monophonic hybrid physical modeling synthesizer. It's got a couple of line outs, a line in, MIDI, USB, little wall wart power supply, 63 patch memory, 3 oscillator slots, 5 effect slots and a mono reverb, 2 audio buses for mixing and effect assignation, and 8 modulator slots including a DAH/DSR, envelope generator, LFOs, curves, interpolators, slew limiters, 24 mapping slots. Seems quite a well specified thing at what I think is a quite reasonable price. Who wants first dibs at this one then? Anyone fancy one of these?
I'll go for it. It reminds me of the Plugiator. I don't know if you ever saw one of those. It's a very similar looking device, and but that was like analog modelling. It came from that Creamware. Do you remember?
Oh yes,
there was a company called Creamware that made like analog modelling versions of synths. Anyway, the partnership that made that split up, and one side of it carried on with the Creamware. So I don't know why I'm talking about this. It's got nothing to do with this thing, but one side went off and did the Creamware stuff, and the other side went off and did the Plugiator, which it was a cracking little bit of kit, but it looks exactly like that. The Anyma.II, it's a Kickstarter program, isn't it? Where they kind of take orders in advance. It's a really good idea. Take orders in advance, build what they can with the money that they raise, and then get them out to the people who supported it early on. But what's interesting about this is that they have the goals of if we get £31,000, we'll be able to do this. Yeah. But they've also got the stretch goals. Now, this is where I think it gets really interesting here, because if they're trying to raise €31,000, but if they get 45,000, they're going to add a percussive playing surface to the top of it, which I think that'd be great. They do a little demo with it just loose on the tabletop, and it's like a piezo kind of tapping microphone thing, and it looks good. I think that'd be a great addition, but I don't know. You get like phantom triggering when it, you kick the stand or whatever. I don't know. I've noticed things like that in the past. And another future goal is if they get to €60,000, they're going to bring out the editor software that I think you can see on screen now. Yep. Now that I think my only complaint with this, I think it sounds fantastic. It's got real like resonation in the sounds, and they sound very believable, but also unique. But I think that interface is a little bit naff, really, to control something as complex as physical modelling. I think it's going to be quite difficult on that. So I think the editor software is going to be essential on that and really useful. But I thought you'd like this one, Robbie. I don't know if you've seen it before, but the long term, like they've got the stretch goals, but they've also got the long term future goals.
Yeah, at least they've got plans, haven't they?
Yeah, well, there's the increasing the memories from 63 to 200, which is good, and adding Bluetooth MIDI, which I thought that would fit in with your new system quite well.
The thing I don't like about this is this front panel, because I don't know whether it's just me and my old age, but that looks difficult to read because you've got these big grayed out letters at the background and these very small little labels, and I'm sure those will probably change in time once this thing gets developed. But it just, I don't know. I mean, I look at that and all I can see are the big grey letters.
Yeah,
the small stuff. It's a little.
I mean, it's the same system as like Waldorf use a lot in their synths, isn't it? And it works quite well. But I think I don't think Axel Hartman's had a go at this one because it just looks as though Banks has been on it. I can see
why the lettering's there. You know, it's the exciter row, the vibrate row, the diffuse row, the global row, the animate row. But I think they've got the icons down the left-hand side, and I think once you've kind of understood what the icons mean, then you don't really need those big grey letters in the background. I don't know. Marshall, what do you think? Are you a physical modelling guy?
Not too much, honestly, but this thing actually kind of reminded me of the Harkon Audio engine that they're putting in the Osmos. Does that seem like a comparable thing to this?
Yeah, I guess it is in a way. I mean, it's modeling, isn't it? So it'll,
yeah. So, but like Ben was saying, or maybe it was you, Robbie. There, the front panel thing. It's going to be a nightmare to use that with the little screen. So you need that software to really dig into this, most likely. And the color scheme looks like my Kyra, kind of like the gray, white, and blue. That's what it kind of reminds me of there. So I don't know, but doesn't seem like it's super expensive, and it looks like they hit their goal for at least the main part of it. But hopefully they get where they can get the editor with it too. I think that'll be an essential piece.
So the goal was 31,500 UK. They've hit 41.5 almost. I mean, they've got 23 days to go. I think it's getting shared around on all the major channels and the minor ones like us too. So I don't see how it won't drum up enough business to maybe reach that first 45,000 stretch goal of the percussion pad. But personally, I would rather see the software editor before the percussive pad. Yeah,
I think so. I think that should be the first priority.
Yeah. Cryss, any thoughts?
I shared a few thoughts on it already. I think I agree with your comments about the text on there, and it will be really helpful to have that editor with products like this that work in the digital domain. I'm kind of thinking about space wise and things that I can do on my computer. I think it'd be great to see a company like this also put it out as a plugin. Now, I'm not sure what kind of horsepower is needed, and maybe it would just cripple your project to put it in there, but just to have a little more flexibility with it. But it looks cool. I mean, yeah.
I think that's always been the drawback with physical modeling plugins, is that the CPU usage generally makes them dominate anything else. Everything kind of suffers because of it. Because there is so much kind of processing power, but I guess that's going to get better over time as we get, particularly we think about machines like the M1 powered Apples that seemingly running hundreds of very complex plug-in instances in a single kind of session. So
thousands.
Who knows? Who knows?
But it's quite interesting that. But one of the things that I did notice, it's a monophonic thing, isn't it? It's a monophonic device. But it seemed to, in one of the videos, it seemed to be throwing out like a full drum kit.
Oh, right.
Now I don't know whether they've employed some sort of, that thing that Novation did with the, what's that? the Aphex Twin thing where it can switch patches like instantly, can't it?
Yeah.
I don't know whether it employs
AFX station. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it employs some sort of technique like that to achieve that, but be interesting.
Yeah.
Unless it
No, I
was
think it's
editing
nice to
trick.
see another kind of, well, they say they're a new manufacturer. They've had stuff before because they had this thing which was like a wind instrument type thing. I don't know how successful that was. But yeah, they had this kind of trumpety wind instrument thing.
It's kind of weird on here because it says it's got a stereo audio output.
But it's mono.
Yeah, so maybe that's. I guess that's for headphones, though. I guess so.
Yeah. Well, the Prophecy has got a stereo output, even though it's monophonic. So, but
Just
yeah,
2 1/4-inch mono line jack outputs, 1 1/4-inch stereo jack output. So
yeah. So the Prophecy's got a left and a right, but you get the same at both. It's just I guess you want to feed it, and then
that seems kind of
you have
weird.
a stereo. You have a stereo.
2 mono outs though, like that. Unless it's bitimbral, which is it?
It doesn't seem to say it is. I've not seen any mention of that on there, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
So that's kind of interesting.
yeah. Anyway, there you go. That's the. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, Native ES asks, considering there are a few Logic users on the show, do you actually ever use the built-in modeling synth?
I've dabbled with it, but not really gone into it. No, I can't say I have.
Yeah, I thought it sounded great. It has that little XY axis in the center of it. That's fun to play with. It does end up being one of those things like Logic just, and this would be true of any DAW, really. I'm just, because I use Logic, I think when we record, we often tend to forget what is available to us in our DAWs because we're, always scoping out new software. And getting to know those, I think for the new year, one of my goals will be to get to know Sampler a lot better and make that like, this is going to be my sampling stuff. I'm not looking at hardware. I don't need Contact or anything else. Like, I'm just going to know this one program and spend some time on it. It's a great, product. And then, of course, with Logic, like I'm poking through and some of the updates have brought in things that I've just missed. And it's kind of shocking because for quite a while after Logic Pro 10 was announced, they had some, and I think they still have some of these in there, synthesizers that look a little outdated, like they need to go through and redo the GUI on it. And so I've kind of avoided a lot of stuff in there, but like the compressor has been totally redone. And I was looking through the other day, just seeing like what is in here again. And a bunch of the program plugins have been updated and look really great now. So I should probably spend some more time looking at what's just available within there because there are a surprising amount of things.
Yeah. I mean, I come from a Reason background. And so obviously that has a ton of built-in, very good instruments that you get as part of the package. And so I really ought to have, once I got into Logic, a year or two ago, that should have been my first place to go. But I just kind of ended up, using all the instruments that I couldn't use in Reason because Reason, whilst it hosts VST2s, it doesn't do VST3s and audio units. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that I couldn't use in there. And so I just kind of got lost in that and never really touched the built-in stuff until they updated it with that new sampler. And I thought, and I started messing around with the effects and like the chroma verb in there. I really like the chroma verb in Logic. I've used that quite a bit. But
I've always thought the Logic synths were miles better than anything that you get in the other DAWs. Like Steinberg's always seem a little bit below par. Even though Cubase is my favourite platform, I just think that the Logic synths are head and shoulders above everybody else's for stock plugins.
Yeah,
and it's really interesting what they did. Like when Logic Pro 10 was announced or came out, that they did the I can't remember what it's called, whatever the vintage synth is, and then within that synth there's a subtractive and additive wavetable, and so you've got kind of all the bases covered. That it's for $200. I don't know if it's still $200. So it was when I bought it, or I should say when I upgraded to Logic 10. That the amount of stuff that you get in there, there's really no excuse not to make fantastically great music just using the stuff that's in there.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. The Logic sampler used to be the EXS24, didn't it?
That's
and
right,
that was
horrible
great. Well, it's awful. It looks like it's from. It looks like it's been taken from Doom or something. A scene out of Doom, and but it's so like processor friendly.
Yeah.
I had an old MacBook that I used to take out live with Electro 80s, and literally, I put one instance of a virtual synth on it, thinking that Mainstage was going to run the entire show on a 2010 MacBook, guitar effects and everything. I put one plug-in on it, and it nearly died. And then so I switched every song to the XS24, and I managed to get both sets out of the one Mainstage Pro. It's so light on the processor. And that.
Yeah.
I don't know what the new one's like. It's probably...
ruined
that, but
I've not noticed anything untoward with that.
Yeah.
Marshall, what DAW are you using? I know you don't use Logic, but
yeah. So like Robbie, I actually started with Reason years ago, and then I went to Pro Tools for about 10 years, and then I've been on Ableton for like 5 or 6 years probably.
Right.
So right now I'm pretty much Ableton. I still use like an older version of Pro Tools sometimes to do some audio editing if I'm working with any kind of vocals or samples that I need to chop up or anything, but primarily Ableton. And I don't use any of their built-in stuff usually. I use their effects sometimes, but the built-in synths I haven't, other than like using an operator sometimes as for sub bass, maybe I'll do that because it's just quick to drop it in. But other than that, I use this stuff or some other plugins for the synths that I have.
Because you're not short of a bit of hardware.
One of the questions that I got earlier this week from a guy that I know, so he was wanting to get into recording, but he has a PC-based setup. I think he's just got a laptop and a MIDI controller and a guitar, and he just wants to get going. But he doesn't have any of the things that I use. As Ableton, would that be something you would suggest for him as a DAW to run on a Windows machine?
Yeah. Yeah, you get him like a little Focusrite audio interface, so you can plug his guitar in, and he's already got a keyboard controller, right? So yeah, and as I'm not a fan of their built-in synths, so maybe he would look to get a good VST like Omnisphere or something, and he's off to the races then.
Yeah.
What's sorry?
Oh, go ahead, Ben.
I was just going to ask what's live like for your hardware integration, because that's obviously when you've got a bit of gear like you have yourself and like Robbie there and Cryss and myself, it's got to be kind of seamlessly integrated into the software. Really, it becomes a pain in the arse if it isn't. And I thought that it was quite tricky in Logic, like going in the environment, creating a track and that, but there is you can create like an instrument track, can't you? Something external instrument track.
MIDI instrument.
Yeah. But I've got Cubase like permanently set up, so it took ages, but like I don't fancy moving away from it now because everything else seems like really daunting. I was just wondering, like a lot of people use Ableton, don't they? I was just wondering like how it plays out with a lot of hardware gear. Is it?
Well, it depends on your audio interface and how many inputs and outputs you can get. So I use a patch bay, and I have a Yamaha mixer that's got 16 outputs, and so I've got a good chunk of I/O, but not enough obviously for everything. So I'll just use my patch bay to patch in what I need, and then like you guys were mentioning, you can either do it the old school way where you use an auxiliary and then a MIDI track. And do it that way, or you can use the external instrument thing that you can drop in where it does MIDI and audio at the same time. Yeah. So, yeah, it all works pretty good.
Yeah. Great.
Cool. Sorry, I was just slightly distracted there because people are talking about different platforms in here. Obviously, there's quite a bit of love for Reaper, which is a really good place to start because you can get straight in and get dirty, and it doesn't cost you anything. And then if you like it, it's like $60 for a license.
It's pretty cheap to get.
It's crazy,
yeah.
and it's portable. You can stick it on a USB stick and then just run it around. It's really, really good. And of course, if you are a Windows user, then of course there's Cakewalk by BandLab, which is completely free if you are on the Windows platform. So there's that. And I think there was something else that was bugging me that was in my head. I can't remember what it was. But you're talking about Logic and like using it with external hardware. I sat when I first got it. I built a template that was a hardware recording template. So whenever I want to record any of this stuff, I just call that template up, and everything's good to go. All the MIDI connections are routed, and the audio comes in, and it's so I guess you just get prepared for what you use. But
I remember just like fiddling around in that environment for hours and hours, you know, and like making one connection and having to start again, you know, because something.
Well, that was totally my experience with Cubase. That's why I jumped ship, because it was oh god, I just want to record this instrument, and it's taking me half an hour to set the damn thing up. So
I do like Logic though. I think it's a
But again, I think we've said before that you know, your door is like your taste in cars, your taste in fashion. It's what suits you, you know, and your mindset.
Any of these are going to probably get it for you.
Oh,
and with this guy that I was helping out, like, budget was, he spent all his budget on the audio interface and the MIDI control. I mean, just like entry-level stuff to use. But then it was like, well, what is he going to use? I think he's using some free form of Ableton, I think he said.
Ableton Lite, probably.
Yeah. And I just said, I see a lot of people using Ableton, so try it out. But then I said, here's a bunch of other things that are free to use as plugins. And so to be able to, all the things that we've been talking about, like Valhalla Supermassive, this new Surrealistic by Cherry Audio, Labs, the Synthmaster player, all this kind of stuff, like sending them links, like all this stuff is available to you. You can make incredible music with it.
Yeah. It is scary how easy it is nowadays, and how hard we had to struggle when we were that age. Sorry, anyway, Grumpy Old Man's going to go. Let's move on. That was the Anyma.II or the Anyma.Phi. There's lots of different people saying lots of different pronunciations. I guess it's this week's Moog. Anyway, it is out there, physical modelling synthesizer. It's on Kickstarter. You can get one, I guess, for 349 euros if you pledge up front. And that will get you on board when that is released next year. So let's move on to this next topic. We won't spend a huge amount of time on this. I don't know what just happened there. My screen just went full screen. I didn't want it to go full screen. There we go. So this is a little project of a guy that I've known for some while, Martin Stonehouse. And his band name here on Bandcamp is DATAStream. And he does a whole bunch of, I guess you could class it as synthwave. It's that kind of, you know, 80s style instrumental electronic music, except he's really, really good. One of the things I kind of found with synthwave, I got into it and then found that like 90% of it sounded like itself, and there was only a small amount that was truly original and was kind of like pushing the envelope. But this guy does it really, really well, except he does it with a little twist. So he does a lot of physical releases, and he'll do limited runs of cassettes or mini discs, of which I have bought a few because I have a thing about mini discs. I do like them. But this was his new project, DATAdisk, and he released Volume 1 earlier this year, and Volume 2 is out now. You can buy the digital album for probably just a couple of quid now, but you can also buy it as a floppy disk, a 3.5-inch floppy disk. And on the 3.5-inch floppy disk, you get the MIDI files to all the songs that he's just released. And you can then copy that over to your computer. Obviously, you need a floppy disk drive to do so. But you can copy those over to your computer and then load them up into your DAW of choice. And he actively encourages you to reinterpret using the MIDI data. I think he's done it all in general MIDI format, so that horrible, cursed, standardized format. But it means that you can get going really quickly. If you just load up a general MIDI synth, and I think most there are plenty of options. I mean, if you're a Reason Cloud subscriber, you've got a sound canvas in there which will do absolutely fine. And I know, for example, on Reason, if you load up a general MIDI file, it throws up the ID8 instrument and it just picks all the sounds for you. So it's quite simple just to get yourself going, and then you can start replacing stuff. But it's like £9, I think, plus postage and packing for the disc. I'm not sure if he's sold out yet. He only did a limited run, but it's a 5-track EP, recorded using a Korg 05RW, a Casio CZ1000, and a Yamaha DX7S. And there you go. I mean, any thoughts on this rather unique way of releasing music, Marshall? Is this something you might consider doing, sort of like a physical, ye olde computer-based thing?
I think that is brilliant. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, I got my Windows 98 Dell. It still has a floppy drive in there. I've even got a Sound Canvas 55 hooked up to it.
There you go.
So yeah, if he's still got some of these, I might pick one of those up. That's a smart little idea, I think.
Yeah, tell him I sent, or tell them we sent you there, because I told him I was going to speak about this on the show. And so hopefully, but it's great, and the music is good too. I mean, it's not like it's crap music.
Yeah.
It's
no,
really
I
good
listened
music.
to that first track at least. It sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's very good. Cryss, are you a fan of these kind of old? I mean, it's an old technology, floppy disk, but it's a very ingenious idea that you release an LP and then you literally give the data to people to mess around with.
Yeah, I thought it was a cool thing to do. I mean, I think I've gotten very spoiled about having all my music on all my devices, but there's something that since we grew up listening to music on hardware, so to speak, whether it's playing LPs or tape cassettes, out there with the Walkman, that this has that kind of feel to it again, and kind of makes you reminisce about the 80s a bit.
I mean, I remember getting hardware instruments in the 80s and the 90s, and they came with a demo, floppy disk of MIDI files that you could load up and then play back on your instrument of choice. Ben, any thoughts on this?
I think it's a really fantastic bit of quirky marketing, isn't it? And it goes with the synthwave thing so well. I wish we'd have thought of it first.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there's no copyright on the idea. But I just really like that kind of openness. I mean, Martin's a sound designer and a sound installation guy as well. So he's really into crafting really good sounds, and he's come up with this kind of musical outlet, and he's done mini discs and audio tapes, which other synthwave type artists and labels have done. I mean, I've even seen VHS cassettes bounded around for sale, which is quite interesting.
Yeah.
But the floppy disk thing just means that I mean, I've got the first volume and I'm waiting for this one I've pre-ordered this, so I kind of like threw them in, and it's great to actually have somebody else's composition, listen to the original track, and think, I could do that slightly differently, or feed it through this. Actively encourages you to share them, and it's good fun.
It'd be kind of a fun thing to see some famous albums. I mean, not with the physical media, but them I know some people have done this in the past, but here's all the tracks, just everything. You can go ahead and mix this famous track yourself. Yeah, and I would love to see that as a format, a more common format. And I think it would be interesting thing to have communities do, like, hey, let's work on our mixing and mastering skills with a famous track that we know how good it can sound, or just for your own enjoyment to go like, I've always liked this track, but there's a little bit too much snare in there and it needs a little more bass or something, and to go in and tweak it and have some fun with it. Yeah.
That George Martin, he was rubbish.
Wasn't there a site recently in the last year or two that did that? It offered you the chance to buy licensed multi-tracks of well-known songs. And I think it was either a subscription thing, or you could buy one track, but it wasn't cheap, but it wasn't horribly expensive. But you got to a point where you thought, I quite like a lot of these, and it got quite pricey. But you could download the stems, the stuff, and you could mess around. But
I think Paul McCartney had on a website. I don't know how many years ago. He had, I think, maybe one of the Wing songs or something up there with a mixer on it, and you could play around with it. That's not quite the same thing. I mean, that's very limited, but there's some interesting things. Like people are doing the isolated tracks on YouTube, but unfortunately, a lot of the time they're done by software. And so it'll destroy the top end of the bass, or you can't really hear the exact tone of the instrument itself, which is, something that I obsess over. But I really enjoy when they do some that are actually from the separated tracks from the masters to hear what is this sound, this synthesizer, this bass guitar, whatever it is, what does it sound like in isolation? Because you know it so well in the mix. It's so fun to go back and hear that stuff. Or what is he actually playing in this part?
Yeah.
That's the coolest pillow ever.
Yeah.
Somebody's just spotted it in the chat room.
Right, yeah. Is it Rick Beato? Has a series of, on his rather excellent channel on YouTube, he has a series of what makes this song great, where he has access to a whole bunch of multi-tracks, and he will isolate them and let you go through. And you can, when you hear that, and you're hearing a guy who clearly knows his stuff, talking about, listen to this in isolation. Just listen to how ordinary this sounds on its own, or how different it sounds, and then you throw it in the mix, and the magic occurs. And I've been very lucky enough to kind of work with a few people over the years who have sent me multi-track files that obviously I'm not allowed to talk about or share, but it's one of the most fascinating things to hear every little element that goes into a track. It's just absolutely brilliant. I wish
sometimes it's often. Like there's something like really out of tune in there, but without it the track doesn't sound right, and that in isolation sounds awful, but works really well in the track. It's a
really great learning experience, and I know all the reasons why it's not done so commonly, because obviously people can assemble all sorts of different things and contravene huge numbers of laws and stuff, but it's what a great way to learn. Absolutely great way to learn. Anyway, so that's storedenergiestechnology.bandcamp.com is the website address for DATAdisk Volume 2. I think DATAdisk Volume 1 is still available in terms of the tracks, but not the MIDI stuff. I don't know whether Martin's got any plans to release that elsewhere.
Looks like the floppies are sold out, so I'm kind of bummed right now.
But so mine will hopefully be arriving in the next week or two, so we'll look at that in a bit more detail then. Right, so that's that. Let's talk about another freebie that's just launched onto the marketplace again. It's one of our favourite companies. And sorry, I've not got the link up. I was too busy talking and not concentrating on what I do, and now I can't see the damn thing. It should be there because it's in capital letters, and there it is. That's it. Right. So this is from Spitfire Audio. This is Guitar Harmonics Labs. So this is a lovely collection of samples based on the harmonic plucks of a guitar string. I'm sure you're getting all of that audio there. Let's play the trailer actually, because the trailer's probably a bit more satisfying.
This is me, Leo Wyatt, and my trusty Epiphone acoustic guitar. In the middle of lockdown, I recorded myself playing different types of harmonics to create a selection of plucks, pads, and warps. This is what it sounds like. And because creativity shouldn't be complicated, we've made it into this. And best of all,
featuring
it's free.
The standard guitar, the standard Labs interface, which is Spitfire's standard thing. That's a nice little collection again, isn't it, of wonderful, just simple samples produced very, very nicely. Cryss, you're a Labs fan. Have you had a go with this one? You're a resident guitarist too, so you can come at this from both angles.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of clever. think like, well, there wouldn't be a lot of use of this for me. And let me just show you what, for anybody that doesn't know, I mean, you can pluck a note just like you normally would, but a harmonic is just barely touching the string at a harmonic note. But usually people know about these ones, but the thing is it's 12 steps above. You can still do any sort of pattern, but it's a little more difficult. With this software, it maps the entire thing in harmonics to be played on a on a keyboard. So it's a really lovely sound. I mean, it's a very familiar sound to me. So I'd be kind of curious to hear it process some really nice reverb or something, or put into a granular synthesizer.
Sorry, I just had waitress service. Yes. Yeah, it's very nice. It's just that nice. I do like the sound of a guitar, guitar harmonic. Something you'd use, Ben?
Yeah, I've been messing with it today. Got to say that I did have some trouble. But I don't know if you remember me saying a while back that my Spitfire Labs had took the knock, and my BBC Discovery thing had took the knock as well.
Yeah.
So I was looking into repairing that, and I had to basically go through and reinstall every single thing again.
Wow.
I don't know why it had happened, and it's quite annoying. And when I looked on the forums and the chats and stuff about it, some people were saying that it happened with stuff where they paid a lot of money for the the sample collection, and there's only so many times that you can repair the installation. So there's people at a point now where they can't repair it anymore because their allocated amounts of repairs has been exceeded. So once I got over that though, and I calmed down a little bit, I put it on, and I've got to say that glass cabinet sound, which is like a Paddy guitar harmonics thing, that is really lovely with those plucks over the top. And you could do some really great ambient or soundtrack work with these sounds. It's just amazing that they give them for free. But sort out your mysteriously breaking libraries.
Yes, that's thankfully, touch wood, not come across that one. Marshall, I'm going to presume that guitar harmonics do not feature highly in your work.
I was just going to say, I'm not known for utilizing many guitar harmonic sounds in my tunes, but I might give that a shot, especially since it's free.
Yeah.
You never know. You can work some cool stuff in, and that's where you can get some innovation in that way. And since I can't play a stringed instrument myself, this is kind of cool, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So if you're interested in that one, it's at labs.spitfireaudio.com. Of course, if you've already got Labs and the Spitfire Audio app installed, just go to the Labs tab and you'll see it appear in there, because they have sorted that out. That was one thing that you had, like every time they release something, there's an update to the app. So it's almost like we're going to release something and then we're going to unlock something in the app. So you've got to update the app. Now, all right, it takes 90 seconds of your time, which you can then go and do something else. But it's really, so I don't quite know. There's still got some things to iron out there in terms of that service, but it's free. So
we are ungrateful, aren't we?
We are
getting these wonderful sounds beamed out the sky into our computers right in front of us.
I know.
And then we complain about it. I'm the worst for it.
It's shocking, isn't it? Absolutely shocking. Right. So no, this is either going. This is right. Let's try this. Let's see if this works. No, wrong one. It's not the right tab. That's the next one. Let's choose.
It's a good-looking tab, though.
It is, yeah. So that's going to be this one then. Right. We'll just quickly do this one. No! Why? Oh, why are you doing this to me? Sorry. This is still getting used to this new system. We are completely professional. Right. So it's going to be that one then. That is going to be... No! Right. Okay. I'm getting upset now. Basically, Behringer have announced that they're going to have a dedicated US distributor. That's what they're saying. And I think this is something that's been a long time coming. A lot of people have complained Here we go. I should get this on screen. There we go. New US super partner, factory direct distribution. A lot of people in the US complain that when Behringer brings something out, it takes at least kind of 6 months or so for it to become available in the US. And if they want it before then, they've got to pay through the nose for it in terms of import duties and shipping fees and stuff.
We've had to put up with this with movies for years, though. I think
Well, I
it's
know,
only fair we get our own back.
Now the shoe's on the other foot. What can you say? So, yeah, I mean, this is just a small piece of news, but I guess for our American friends, and we've got Marshall and Cryss here, I guess this, if you're into buying Behringer equipment, which you may or may not be, this will be good news for you when this rolls out next year.
It is nice to even things out, and that goes both ways too, because we get Moog and Sequential and a lot of other stuff first, and I saw that with the Moog 1 distribution, that a lot of guys in Europe, guys and gals, were waiting, and that's tough, and we get it the other way around with Behringer or Modal or something like
or
stuff that we're interested in.
Waldorf or some of the ones.
Yeah. So it is nice that when companies can work that stuff out, so there can be a broader and quicker distribution for it. I really kind of want a Behringer Cat. And I checked out Black Friday sales. Like maybe they'll be, there's a number of places doing 20 and 25% off sales, and usually they won't do it for gear like that that's already very cheap. But I mean, it's just kind of, sometimes it's hard to find them. That yellow TD3 with the smiley face one, it's like it's never in stock. Anytime anybody has a sale, it's never in stock. So. Yeah, there you go.
Because Marshall bought them all.
Marshall bought the only one that was shipped to the US.
I bought the only one that's in the States, probably.
He is the unofficial US distributor. I have to admit, if I was tempted by anything, it's that. I would like the yellow one, but I just keep thinking, I don't think I would make as much. I don't make the sort of music that Marshall makes, and so I couldn't justify it, but that's the kind of the one that I would like. But anyway, I guess it's good news for people in America that now you will get this kind of global distribution network, and hopefully prices will be.
I will say it took months to get that. I put in an order for it as soon as I heard about it, and it took months, like Cryss was saying. So, yeah, if you're not quick on the draw.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. Right. Okay. Well, I just thought I'd get that one in there because it is kind of interesting news. And there was another piece of interesting news which is time limited, so we'll talk about it now before it disappears. But this is one of my all-time favourite plug-in synthesizers, and it has been heavily discounted over at Audio Plugin Deals, which is not the most inspiring place to go and buy plugins, but when they do deals, it can be an absolute steal. I've bought 2 or 3 things from here when they've just gone to stupidly low prices. And talking of stupidly low prices, this is 81% off. It normally retails for $156. You can get it for $29.99, which is an absolute bargain. The PPG 3V from Waldorf. I think I bought this when it was on 50% sale at Waldorf, so I got it for like 70 something euro, and I used a coupon or something. So it is, as far as, I mean, I've only listened to and played a PPG Wave once or twice. This nails it completely. It nails it in pretty much every single aspect sonically. My only gripe with this is the horribly small UI, which is, I guess, on a 27-inch iMac, it's kind of borderline unusable. I throw it up on a big 40-inch screen and it does blow it up a bit. It's not too bad, but sonically. So I was talking, before I bought this, I was talking to Michael Mertens of 80s band Propaganda, who used this heavily on their kind of first studio album. And he said, I bought this because this was identical. This is exactly how I remember this sounding in the studio in 85. And I thought, well, if he's going to say that, then it's got to be good. And I've not been disappointed. So if you want to buy this now, it is available over at audioplugin.deals, PPG Wave 3V. Anyone else a fan of this one?
I think I'm gonna get this. And the small UI, like you're talking about, kind of reminds me of the first versions of like the Korg Legacy collection.
Yeah.
Which I still use. That I think there's an upgrade I can get for it to where the UI you can scale them now.
Yeah.
But I don't get super high resolution on my monitors anyway, since I can't see worth a damn anyway. So the smaller UIs aren't a huge deal, as long as I can set my resolution on the monitors and still see them, I guess. But yeah, if that's like a real authentic PPG sounding plugin,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
And it comes with the 2.2 and the 2.3 Wave factory libraries and the entire Wave Term sample disc set. So all of those classic Wave Term samples, which I was going through. I was talking to one of my writing partners the other day, and I said, "Oh, you got to try this. You haven't got this. I've got this. You got to get it so that we can collaborate using this." And we were going through the presets in the Wave Term library. It's like, "Oh yeah, that's on that song," and we go to the next one. "Oh yeah, that was used on this song," and it's literally just like a who's who of like the 1980s, every piece of music that ever used a PPG Wave. Cryss, you like this one? Yeah, mute. Can't hear you. Can't hear you. There we go. Oh, no, he's muted again. There.
Yeah,
There.
I got it. No, I don't. Yeah, I picked it up. It sounds great, and especially, I mean, it's got some internal effects and stuff, but running them through some of your favorite reverbs or chorus or whatever, it sounds spectacular. The UI, yeah, it's small. I can deal with the small. What I don't like to deal with is just a poor UI, and I think it has a really badly outdated UI that's not fun to work with, especially with the program management and saving presets and all that kind of stuff is awful. So, but the sounds in it are fantastic, and we have in Synth Network. I'm trying to remember his name, Andrew Thomas, I believe.
Andy Thomas,
made a bunch of the presets for this, and he's got some great sounding presets in there. And a lot of his are kind of shifted towards really warm, lush pads. So yeah, I went through and I was trying to figure out. I had spent I don't know, an hour or something going through all the presets and just like modifying the names of the ones that I wanted to remember.
Yeah.
And then I pulled it up the next time and all that work was gone, so I had to go through it a second time, and then I resaving and I couldn't find enough information in the manual about how to save the patches correctly, so I did eventually get it worked out, and we'll look forward to putting it into some music.
Yeah, it's such a great sound. It's such a unique sound as well. I'm hoping, upon hope, that this discounting exercise is to get a huge amount of people signed up on board, and then they're going to hopefully maybe drop a new version, because I remember when it first came out, the PPG 2V, I was like, yeah, I've got to have that, and then I tried a demo of it. I was like, oh god, it's so unusable, I don't like that at all, and avoided it. And then when they brought 3V out, I thought, oh, at last maybe they've and it got to a point where I couldn't resist it anymore, so I waited until it was in a sale. So I'm hoping, I don't know, they don't seem to be concentrating too much on their software instruments, because I guess things like the Iridium and all the other stuff that they do is probably more important and more profitable. But
what happened to that Waldorf attack? That was a great little drum thing.
Yeah, there was attack. There was a whole. I've got the is it the Wald? They did like a collection, didn't they, of PPG 2V, Attack, Dipole was another one of those. That filter.
Yeah.
And I think there might have been something else. Largo. Is it Largo? Waldorf Largo. I don't know whether that was part of the package, but yeah, they seem to have kind of neglected the software stuff, which is a shame. But of course, there is a certain company that are supposed to be bringing out a hardware clone of this at some point, which we haven't heard of just yet. But yeah, there you go. You can't for $29.99. You really cannot go wrong. It's a fantastic synth. Really, really is. Right. So what's the time? We're like 5 to 9. We're almost halfway through the show. I tell you what. Let's change the tone. You'll see that's a pun. We'll change the tone slightly, and we're going to. We are the Pro Synth Network, but of course we do have Cryss here, who is an expert in the field of guitars and effects pedals. And there has been a recent new collaboration between one of the classic legendary pedal makers and one of the biggest pedal makers on the planet. So I'm kind of going to toss this one over to Cryss to discuss initially. But this is the news that Boss have teamed up with these guys, the Sola Sound from London, to recreate the iconic Tonebender Mk.II. I will say that, I mean, there's a great video with Mr. Mk.II there. Is that the same Mk.II as the guy behind the Mk.II music stores? It is, isn't it? Or his dad?
Yeah, this is his son, I believe.
Yeah. Because I remember shopping in Mk.II's music stores back in the day. But what surprised me most about this, so essentially they've recreated this classic guitar pedal. There's the original on the left, the Mk.II, and then the new one on the right, which is made by Boss, licensed by Sola Sound. And I fully expected the Boss thing to be a completely modelled thing that was a triumph of modelling technology. And it's not. It's hardware based, and it's a limited run because of the limited run of components. So, Cryss, I'm going to hand it over to you. Tell us a bit more about this.
So, briefly, as we kind of know the history of effects, fuzz was one of the first, any sort of distortion, turning your amp up would have been one of the first recognized effects. But in the early 60s, usually engineers wanted clean stuff. And all of a sudden there was a way to give guitar sustain like a saxophone or a violin. And this, with the release of the Rolling Stones' Satisfaction, with Keith Richards using, I believe it was a Maestro fuzz pedal on that, and then it just kind of started, opening up. And then once you have guys like Jimi Hendrix that are just fully into fuzz, it became, fuzz and distortion, cranking your amps really became ubiquitous in rock music in particular. This was one of the earliest fuzz pedals, and so fuzz being just a really harsh, nasty. It can be warm sounding too, but it's a pretty intense. If you think of it in terms of waveform, it's about as square wave as you can get. In fact, if you have a guitar and you play the neck pickup, roll your tone off a little bit into a fuzz, you get something that really approaches something like a mini Moog set to a square wave in its tone. And Aaron, I don't need to magnify Cryss's head. You don't like my head? Oh, so the Tonebender is one of the classic fuzz pedals of that era, along with the Fuzz Face, and a little bit later the Big Muff Pi by Electro Harmonics. And the Tonebender would probably be fairly well known to people. Led Zeppelin 1 has quite a bit of it on there. Pretty sure most people have heard Dazed and Confused, and that really thick, warm, fuzzy guitar tone is the Tonebender sound. The problem with reproducing these pedals is that it's a very simple circuit, extraordinarily simple. I've built tons of old fuzz, old fuzz pedal designs. They're very easy to build, but the germanium transistors are very rare. Of course, in the late 60s, they switched to silicone because they were more temperature stable, but they do sound different. And so the guitar market, since the early to mid 90s, has been sourcing all these vintage transistors and putting them into fuzz pedals, and that's been wonderful, but they're pretty much all dried up, and they don't make them anymore. I'm not sure if anybody's making germanium transistors, not for any sort of industry. It would be something like Sovtech, making vacuum tubes, just for the music, music industry. So it's a kind of a cool thing, and it's from Roland, it's an interesting choice because you can see how much they've changed in the last. I don't know how many years ago it was that the leadership of Roland changed, because they were very much, we're not going to go back and visit the past with Boss pedals. We're not going to do reissues. And then all of a sudden now we're having these Waza reissues like the Dimension C and the DM2 delay, and now we have something that's not even one of their pedals. It was a Sola sound pedal. So cool collaboration. I think it's going to be limited numbers, but we don't know what that means, like how limited. It'll be interesting to see if they can bring it to a price point that would people would really want to buy it, because Sola Sound is making pedals again, and they're a little bit on the pricey side for what they are, considering the components that go into them. But it's kind of a niche thing. So yeah, very popular.
Yeah, it was interesting to see, and I watched that video with Mr. Akari, and him from a history point of view, Denmark Street and all of that kind of stuff. That's classic British, music technology land, whether it's guitar pedals or anything else. It was a really interesting thing, but an interesting collaboration. I mean, he was saying that they have one guy building the originals, because they still make them. But they just have like one guy, and that's it. So they've got a 2-year back order waiting
something
list.
like that. Yeah, it was really a long period of time.
So I guess there must be some kind of financial motivation for them. They've got to be making some money out of this licensing deal. That's not going to then their business isn't going to be hurt, I guess, because people still want the original because of the shape and the size and. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. But
I bet that one guy though was going, "Oh, please take somebody else on with the money. I am absolutely sick to death of these pedals.
If I see another, one of these." But no,
much like with the synth market, it's not the only place to get that sound anymore. Since I said the guitar community has been about 15 years ahead of all this vintage stuff from the synth market. So like it's been done to death in a good way. I've got a Tonebender clone that sounds really great and uses vintage OC82s, I think, transistors in it. But there's so many like boutique pedal makers these days, and a whole bunch of them cover the classic circuits like the Tube Screamer and the Fuzz Face, the Tonebender that. We're not really hurting, but it's kind of an interesting thing to see Boss do this. Nobody thought, nobody saw this coming. I think when they teased the little corner of it, it had that kind of hammerite gray on it, and most people thought like, wow, they're gonna maybe do a Waza version of their own FZ1 or FZ2. I think the FZ2 was the I think I might not have the numbers right on it. I think the FZ2 was a fuzz pedal from the 90s, but people were wondering what they're going to do. So yeah, this is a surprise.
Do you have a Tonebender, Cryss? Or
I have
one of these.
Yeah, I have a boutique one, which is kind of surprising for me. I have a couple. I've had, I've probably had 100 different vintage Big Muff Pies from Electro Harmonics, and I built literally dozens of Fuzz Faces, and Fuzz Face and Tonebender are very similar circuit-wise. The Tonebender Mark I was actually probably just only same topology as a Fuzz Face is what the fuzz that Jimi Hendrix used. But the Tonebender was originally the same topology, but just different values. The Mark II, which is what this is, added another transistor stage on the input. So they're all, it's from the same family of sound. But yeah, I do have one that I took and then I modified it because another famous variation is a Marshal Super Fuzz, which was used on, if you make any song named Super Fuzz now, I'm going to buy it.
It's gonna be my next tune, Super Fuzz.
So there you go. That's the Boss TB2W. It's going to be a limited run. More information at boss.info. And I guess Mr. Makari, judging by that picture at the front of the page there. Sorry, Ben, I'm going to highlight you next to him. Picked the wrong thing. Look at that. He's like, yeah, I got loads of money. So yeah, it was just, even if you don't have any interest in buying one of these, watch the introduction movie because it's about 10 or 11 minutes long.
Yeah,
and
it was
it's
good.
A great British music history story. and then this kind of tailor the collaboration. So that's interesting in itself. Right. Okay, so we've just gone past the hour mark, so why don't we move on and do our weekly poll discussion. So if you are familiar with the group and the show, we have a weekly poll that we throw up into the Facebook group, and then we ask our members to come in and vote for stuff or whatever, and then we come and discuss it on the show that following week. And this week's poll discussion, we even have a banner for this one as well. Let's bring this up. Weekly poll discussion. Go right over Chris's face as well. That's unfortunate. Let's take that away. Right. So the weekly poll discussion this week was a little bit late coming through. It's been a busy week. But one of our members, Godric, shared a little tip where he took one of his wife's stockings and placed it over his hose pipe of his vacuum cleaner. And he said, when you put the little brush tool on top of that, you can hoover out your keyboards or whatever, your electronic equipment, and if one of your caps or fader caps or anything pops off with the strength of the suction, I'm sorry, there's so much innuendo here, then it won't go down the pipe. You won't have to reach into your bags to retrieve it. So anyway, I thought that was a very simple tip, slightly suggestive, but very simple. And so we thought we'd open up that to our members, and we had quite a response. And so I threw in a few, and then a bunch of others threw in some suggestions. So we're going to go through in reverse order. A lot of these only got one vote from the people that put them in there. I will ask for some explanations. So we've got post-it notes, sticky notes. That's always an interesting and useful addition, because you can just throw up some settings. Even Cryss, was it last week, the week before, you was using post-it notes on air. You just scribble something, slap it on the keyboard. These are the settings that I was using or whatever. A desk, that's an interesting one.
Agreed.
Obvious.
Desk.
Yep. Obvious.
Pretty essential.
But a good desk is these days is hard to find. I've got this lovely kind of corner affair here, but it's no good for music. I want something that I can put my keyboard controller under, So yeah, good desk. Ben,
wow.
Magnifying glass.
Yes, it's here. This is an essential piece of kit for me. It lights up, so when you're rooting around the back of
my
desk,
grandmother had one of those to read her books.
Yeah, it lights up. It's got lights on it. I don't know if you can see them, but I can really see where all the wires go and everything. I find it invaluable. Yeah. And sometimes, like, the writing on synths are getting too small for me as well now. So.
Okay, well, fair enough. Paul Whiffen, this was an interesting one. Paint roller on a Hammond organ, and it took me a few seconds to figure out what he meant. And it's absolutely true. Because what's one of the things, if you're playing a proper Hammond organ, you're going to take the palm of your hand and run it up that waterfall keyboard to get that really fast glissando right up to the top, there. But who needs the palm of your hand and ripping it to shreds, especially on a keyboard that doesn't have the rolled edge waterfall keyboard? Paint roller.
Haven't you got to stop playing though to pick the roller up, do the run, then put it down again, and then carry on?
I mean, I guess with a Hammond, you're doing the bass with your feet maybe on the pedals, and then your left hand's there, and then you just grab the roller off the top and then go, and then put, I don't know. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's what he meant.
Somebody said to me once that they used Mr. Sheen polish on the keys to get them really slippy, for all that bluesy stuff.
Yeah, that's it, because there's so much of that really fast kind of, So yeah, there you go. Desoldering iron. I just recently bought a desoldering tool, when there's suction pump things. I've not gone full, I've seen some really amazing contraptions, but yeah, that's a good one. Another one I'm going to come to you, Ben, for an explanation is food bags. Please clarify.
Because you can get hungry when you're in the studio. No.
Seriously, though.
I'm on about, like, these. Right.
Yeah.
So, instead of having all your wires in a drawer, all tangling up and everything, like, stick them in a food bag. You can see what's inside. You can write what's on it. And so like these are like USB mini various, and I don't have to spend hours untangling like wires and pulling them and breaking them. I just look at the bag, get the one out that I need. That was off an engineer friend of mine, Keith Saxon. He recommended that technique, and
I've done the same thing. Underneath this desk under here, I've got some bins with like pull-out drawers, and so I did the same thing, like power adapters. Like these are guitar, these are synth, or this is 12 volts, 9 volts. Put them in bags. You just pull out the bag that you want to get something out of it. It makes things so much quicker.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting one. I might use that one myself. Then we've got Daylight. Which, you know, some people like to make their music in different environments, but Daylight's always a useful one. Cuddly Toy. This is a bit like the Generation game, isn't it? Dust Covers. That's an obvious one, but, you know, very useful one. Compact Makeup Mirror. I guess for, like, looking behind stuff. That's
actually, I have a dental mirror. Works really well, too, for things.
Yeah,
they're small.
I tend to use my phone because you have it now, so you can, like, the screen lights up as like a light as well, and you can just kind of dangle the phone, and it's got a magnifier in there as well. So I guess that's a. Oh no, I use
just
that.
Reading that in the chat room. Ben Breslin said, "I have a mate who uses carrots and matchsticks to hold down chords on synths with no old function."
Do you know the matchstick trick?
I've seen that.
Yeah. I've seen that.
That works.
Well, Keith Emerson used to use like a Bowie knife, didn't he?
I've seen people taping the notes down to the actual case, but I just have this vision of this like really like naff fake hand pressing the card.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool. Where are we? Brandy, cognac for serious sessions. That was from Keith McCard. Andrew Brooks, a shaving brush, a Ramsey recommendation, which has been brilliant. I'm taking that, Andrew, is for use cleaning and not shaving. Coffee holders, notepad and pen, cable tester, that's a good one. A couch. And I couldn't believe that this one only got 2 votes. Label printer, because it is by far and away one of my most favourite tools in this room. When I got this, I spent days just labelling the shit out of everything. Anything that didn't move got a label. Cables, I do,
and a few things that did.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, the cats were too slow. But once I'd labelled like all my power supplies and I'd labelled all my external hard drives, because I've got like 3 external hard drives that kind of sit in the corner just down there, and 2 of them are identical externally, but they're different, capacities and stuff. And I always pulled out the wrong one when I was trying to, move it. So labelled all of those. And then I went round all my MIDI cables. I printed off a label that said what the instrument was, which socket it went in, and then just wrapped that around the end of the cable so that if I have to unplug it, I can just go bum, 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 and it's all back in. So, label printer, absolutely. And then we start coming into the top 5 or 6 here. So ergonomic task chair. I mean, I think we've all got, something... ergonomically designed here with back supports and what have you. Mine's getting a little bit wobbly now, but a good chair is always useful. The stocking filter we've spoken around. A soldering iron, so I guess if you can have a desoldering iron, then you probably need a soldering iron at some point in your studio. And then the top 4, in 4th place, cable ties, Velcro, which I have an absolute ton of these. I bought these from Thomann. They're really cheap, they're really useful, they get different lengths, different widths, absolutely essential. Absolutely.
How many of them do you get in a pack, those Velcro ties?
I think it's 10 a pack.
Right.
It says on here you go. 10 pieces in a pack, and then you get different. I mean, I've got some that are like a couple of inches wide, and I've got these ones that are like half an inch, and then some in between ones and different lengths as well. So always useful to have those. In position 3, bucket of weed. I guess if you're that way inclined, that's a useful tool. Torch or a flashlight is in 2nd place, and the number 1. There you go. Yeah, I suppose that works. The number 1 tool, non-musical tool in people's studios is the paintbrush, which I guess is the same as Andrew's shaving brush.
I've got a feather duster.
A new unused like fine fibre paintbrush. And I did my keyboards this morning because I was reminded of it. I thought I'll just give them a once over. And so, yes, get all the nooks and crannies. It's nice and soft. It won't scratch. So the paintbrush is the number one tool as voted for by our members. Have we had any other suggestions in the chat room? I was trying to keep a decent engineer, says Sasquatch. Is always a useful tool to have in your room, I suppose. Let's have a look. Zip ties. We've spoken about zip ties, cable ties, whether it's Velcro or whether it's those plastic. I was saying before pre-show, I used to use the plastic ones, but it just got wasteful. Because every time I wanted to move something, I'd cut this thing and throw it away and then get another one. Whereas the Velcro ones, you can just reuse over and over again. Native VS says, get a proper label maker that you can connect to your computer. I don't see the point of that because these are brilliant. They're absolutely brilliant. It's all there. You've got clip art and icons and shapes and also different fonts and different font sizes. They're really, really good. Was there anything else on there that anybody saw? Marshall, what's your favourite non-musical tool?
It's my cell phone, because it can be a flashlight, and mostly if I'm doing any kind of moving around or troubleshooting, I'm getting down on the floor, I'm behind something, I need a light.
Yeah.
So the flashlight basically.
Yeah.
So, but since it's in your phone, I just say cell phone, I guess.
I mean, the amount of times I've gone behind stuff and then just taken a picture because it's like really difficult. You just take a picture and then, that's what I'm looking at.
That works too sometimes. Or sometimes if I can't read what's on the back of something, I got to take a picture and then zoom it so I can read it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But the thing is, I do that. I take a picture and then I print a label and I stick it on there, and then I really know because I can print it really big. So I don't have to be wearing my glasses when I do that. But there you go. That was a nice little bit of fun. Some interesting suggestions there, and one or two that I think I will take you up on your food bag thing, especially those ones with the proper zip at the top.
Yeah,
nice and useful.
Yeah,
maybe they do heavy duty ones, because I imagine that most food bags, they're not that tough. I mean, there must be some heavy.
No,
you probably get like the freezer, the ones that you'd put in the freezer. Those are thicker ones. Yeah.
The freezer quart or gallon bags, I use those quite a bit with the little zip.
Yeah.
Where you don't have to use your finger, but it actually has a little piece of plastic. Those are really nice.
I bought some like plastic drawers you can get for really cheap, like for £10-15. So you get 3 or 4 drawers in a plastic thing. And the other side of that wall, I've got 2 of them stacked, and it started off really, really quite well organised. There's only 8 drawers there, but then you get all these different types of cables, different power leads, wall warts, and different USB cables and audio cables and MIDI cables. And in the end, everything just gets lumped in together. So I'm looking. And
they always get tangled.
The cable fairies get in there, and
so then you got to take the drawer out and just dump it on the floor, and then you start digging through them, right?
Yeah, and it's always the last one. It's always the last one, the one that you want. Never mind. Anyway, so some interesting suggestions there. Thank you for everyone's input. We'll hopefully have another question up for you on the Facebook group shortly. Hopefully in the next couple of days. If you don't know where that is, do join us on our Facebook page, which you just go to Facebook and search Pro Synth Network, and you'll find us on there. So that's the weekly poll discussion. Just to remind you that if you want to donate to us, we are incredibly grateful for everyone that already has and anyone that is considering doing so. The actual clickable link is in the show description underneath this video, but there is the web address. It's a simple PayPal donation page. Feel free to help us out, and for everyone that has already, thank you. We thank you greatly, because you've really helped solidify this channel's existence for at least another year. So we'll be coming cap in hand, I guess, in about 11 months' time for another a surge of stuff. If we're still doing this thing. Of course, if you want to carry on playing PSM Bingo, there's the correct address. I did get it wrong earlier, but that's the correct address. Again, the link is in the description on YouTube down there. You can play along with that live. I guess you could play along if you're watching after the fact, as long as you don't cheat. I don't know what's on there. I didn't look to see what's on the bingo card. So I don't know if I'm sure the usual culprits are on there. I'm not sure if I've said anything, but let us know if you get house on that there. Right, guys, what shall we do next? Let's talk we've got a couple of software synthesizers that are they're both free. They are both free. So let's get rid of the poll discussion and let's bring in yet another brilliant addition to his already extensive collection of free software synthesizer. This is Full Bucket Music and Bucket Pops. Bucket Pops is a software instrument for Windows and Apple Mac OS, simulating the classic Korg Mini Pop 7 rhythm machine from 1966. And it is a huge amount of fun. It's very simple. 20 rhythms, 15 modelled drum instruments. There are no samples in here. This is all completely modelled. Tweakable instrument parameters, a tweakable rhythm sequencer, a resizable user interface as well, along with MIDI learn on all parameters, and is available as a VST and an audio unit for both Windows and for Mac OS. Let's have a little demonstration of this. Let's bring this up. This probably won't. I need to stop sharing my screen of that and start sharing my screen of the YouTube. Here we go. And see, again, still getting used to this system. Share the screen, choose the tab, make sure you've selected audio, otherwise our users can't hear this. So this is a Jar-esque composition. Video features all of the instruments are full bucket instruments. So you've got the Deputy Mark II, you've got the FB 3100, you've got the Pops, and you've also got their full bucket phaser. So this, it sounded I mean, it was to all intents, it was classic Jar in its sound and its style as well.
But when you consider that that's all free software,
all of that is free.
Yeah, that's crazy. That sounds really good. This is, again, you try and tell the kids how good they've got it these days. Yeah. They have no idea. So, Cryss, I know you really enjoyed this rhythm machine.
Yeah. I as soon as I saw it, I downloaded it, and Bjorn's been making some really great synthesizers and puts them out there for free. There is a donation section on his front page there, and so I think after I had gotten the second one, because I have the Trisent, which is like a Korg Trident, and the one that's the Korg Poly 800, and so I made sure to take care of him because he's taking care of us. And this new Bucket Pops, it's quirky and it's fun, and one of the cool things about it is that along the bottom you have those different tabs, but there's a place where you can click on it and you have these rows of what looks like kind of, I don't know, open potentiometers that you can adjust the pitch and the tone of each of the different instruments. There's a full like grid sequencer in there, and again, it's one of those awesome, quirky old drum machine sounds that are a lot of fun. Yeah. So I'm having fun with it. I gotta put together a song with it.
Yeah, good fun. Marshall, is this something you'd make use of?
Yeah, I think so, especially because I love drum machines like a bunch. So the more, and even if it's a VST, I don't care, because I can add those into my tracks basically, and you get it's fun to play with these different drum machines. So drum machines, any form, I'm down. And this is a free one, which makes it even better. So
absolutely.
Yep. So I'll be grabbing this.
Mr. Simpson?
Sure. Yeah, I was just when I first downloaded it, I thought, oh right, yeah, I'll probably never use this. This is like, it's a gimmicky kind of thing, you know. It's a little box with a couple of presets on it, but it's surprisingly in depth.
Yeah.
Like Cryss was saying, there is so much you can do with it. It is deceptively simple at first, but it does everything that something else would do. You know, it's got this really kind of in-depth step programming system.
Yeah.
You can even do weird time signatures in that, and which is nice, polyrhythmic, and like Cryss said about the the configuration screen where you can go in and alter all the sounds of that. It is surprisingly powerful, and it sounds great as well. I think I will be as soon as I'm over Christmas. I think I'll be making some sort of contribution to his continued development of software, because he, like Cryss said, he is doing us a huge favour, giving us all this stuff for free.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, it's amazing. I mean, you look at the list of things he's got there. What's it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's about 20 odd instruments and effects there that are all really, really usable. You know, I love the 31, 32, and 3300 things that he's done. I do love the sound of those, and the Stigma is another personal favourite. The Trisent as well. Some of those are just so good,
and you can on this as well. You can push more than one pattern down at once.
Well, I was going to say, I was trying for the life of me to remember which two buttons Jar used together, because I was at a show last year and somebody brought an original Mini Pops and they just went boom like that on these two buttons, and there it was. And this quirky accident that caused it's funny. Does anybody remember? Maybe in the chat room, what two? Because there were.
Robert says, wasn't it rumba and folk?
I'm sure. Yeah, rumba was one in there. So yeah, maybe that's what it was.
With the full bucket synths and drum machines, I like that he has a mind to take something, you can do the exact thing as that the old one would do, but then also he gives you a lot more features to open it up to do new things with it. And so even if you just scroll through the presets, you can hear that there's some interesting things going on that the original wouldn't have been able to do. Yeah. And I appreciate that. And you think about using any sort of the old gear, there is something that's very fun. I mean, like one of the recent old pieces of gear software that I got was that Waze Factory Echo Cat, Watkins tape echo. And so it would be fun to have this what is the original chord called, Mini Pops or something?
Mini Pops, yeah.
Mini Pops, and this Watkins tape echo thing, but then all the things that you have to deal with as far as maintenance, as far as humming and all that kind of stuff. And then you can't sync it to your DAW really easily. Whereas these things give you all these options. How much vintage vibe do you want with all the noise and the hum? Like on the Watkins stuff, you can add it in or take it away and just have the tone of it. Or something like this where you can sync it to your DAW and to your delays and all that. Very good. I like it.
Yeah, no, it's very, very good indeed. So if you want to avail yourself of that or any other of the Full Bucket Music stuff, it is fullbucket.de is the website, and then go to there are two tabs, one for his own tracks and another one for his plugins, VST and AU. Just click on that, fill your boots, and then go and put some money in his PayPal donation page, because he very much deserves it. Now, this one I threw in last minute, so I appreciate you guys if you haven't spent any time with it, or you might have done. But I know this has been kind of bouncing around the last few weeks. It's a new free synthesizer. It's called Vital, and it's a spectral warping wave table. I can't speak. It's this gin and tonic, I swear. So let's have a listen to that, because it does sound rather amazing. go. That's Vital, which is completely free of charge. Now I need to scroll down here. Let's close this. Can I just close that? There we go. So Vital.audio is the website, and it's this wavetable, shaping wavetable synthesizer. It looks a really nice, clean, flat layout. Sounds really incredible. Whole bunch of sound shaping tools are built in as standard. What's interesting about this that I found, certainly, I mean, as an instrument, it sounds really great, and there's a whole wealth of wavetable offerings out there, both software and hardware. But it's the pricing model. So, most of the time, it's either, it's a low price or it's a high price. You've got options here. So you can go and get the free version, which you get the complete instrument, you get 75 presets and 25 wavetables to mess around with and come up with what you will. Basic synth. Pay $25 and you get exactly the same, but you get 250 presets and 70 wavetables. Pay $80 for the pro version, you get over 400 presets, 150 wavetables, this unlimited text-to-wavetable function, which we'll discuss in a minute, exclusive Discord perk, and prioritized support. Or, if you like to go the subscription way, $5 a month gets you all that, plus first access to new features and first access to any new plugins that they develop in the future. Because this, I don't think, is their first. I think it's their second. Helm, I think, was their first one, which I think we talked about when it was out. Anyway, so there's this synth. You've got lots of different purchasing options, and I guess, if you like it, try it on the free version, then move up. First of all, as far as the synthesizer is concerned itself, and the sound and the control, thoughts on this one? Marshall, did you get a chance to have a play with this, or certainly look into it?
Yeah, I checked it out, and for me, like I have kind of a lot of wavetable capabilities already in terms of, like, I used to use Massive back in the day. I've got the Quantum. I picked up a Hydrasynth like a couple weeks ago. So I've got kind of lots of wavetable stuff. But the thing about this that kind of stood out to me was the speech to vocoder, or was it text to vocoder?
Text to wavetable.
Text to wavetable. That was I was like, that's pretty cool. I think the Quantum can do that too, but I'm not 100% sure. But this is like, that's pretty cool. That's what I was like, ooh, I kind of want to try that.
But it's interesting. So we talked about this before we came on air. So you only get this text to wavetable feature if you are either a subscriber or you go for the pro version,
right,
of the tool. And then it doesn't give a huge amount of detail as to what it does, but it says that the text to wavetable service is a web service. This unlocks unlimited text to wavetable requests, which are normally limited to 5 requests per day. So I guess it's, this thing, I guess you call up a web page, you type in the text you want to convert into a wavetable, it does some back-end processing at their end and then sends you a link to download or something like that.
I think if they just did that, but like as its own thing, that would be kind of cool too, because the synth itself looks cool. It's got some nice visual feedback and stuff, but like I said, I mean, I've got wavetable possibilities galore already. This specific feature, though, that this is advertising is something that I would be interested in, but if it's not part of the actual plugin, that's kind of weird. Like, I don't think I've seen anything like that where they use some back-end processing for a feature that normally would be part of the program, you know what I mean? So that's kind of weird.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting that this feature is something they clearly have to do at their end and not something that can be done, or are they keeping it back as a subscriber or pro only thing? Yeah,
that could be too.
And maybe they're keeping it back because there are clever people like you that would go and buy this and get that conversion tool and then offer that as a service to other people with wavetable synths.
Or figure out how it, reverse engineer it or whatever.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. It's interesting. I mean, we were saying also that Falcon can do this thing where you can import a JPEG and convert that to a wavetable. So you could import a JPEG of, maybe this, DX5, and then have that, it sculpts the wavetable based on the 3-dimensional interpretation of the text or the image that you throw in there, and it creates custom wavetables that way. So you can get that. Apparently, I think I've just got somebody a mark on their PSN bingo card for saying Falcon. There you go. Oh, apparently, how's Falcon not on my card this week? Denied. I don't know. Somebody says it is. Somebody says it isn't. Never mind. Anyway, Ben, have you tried this?
I haven't. No, I didn't actually see it on the list until it's
That's
too
my
late.
fault. It was a late edition.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm a bit like Marshall. I've got like wavetables. I've got the microwave and the Hydrosynth and.
That's what we were trying to work out on Ranz's show. What your Waldorf was.
Yeah,
we can see his big. We can see Ben's big red knob. We weren't sure what it was.
Yeah,
it's behind
you. Covered up. Yeah, it's covered up by a chair.
There you go.
Yeah, it's just a microwave too. But I've got like quite a lot of stuff that does that kind of thing. But because it's free, I'm quite tempted to get it. Because it might do something quite unique, or I might have more automation possibilities with it being VST. So I will try it. I don't think I'd be subscribing, or because I'm a bit off the subscription thing at the minute.
Yeah.
I fell out with Roland over the Roland Cloud and
yeah.
So
it's just the way that things are going. I mean, everything is going subscription, isn't it? I mean, even the company I work for, we have software as a service stuff that we do, and we were asking tens of thousands of pounds for people to buy this service and licenses. Within a year, we figured out that this was just not the way that people wanted to do it. We had to go subscription. We just kind of forced to go down that road, and it's been successful. And it's increasingly common in our little industry here of music technology is subscriptions, and there's going to come a point where if you look at your bank statements every month, there's going to be like 200 debits out of your account each month for one instrument here, another instrument there, a suite of instruments there, a digital audio workstation over there, and all this kind of stuff. And it just gets to the point where, oh God, it's so unmanageable. And they've all got expiry dates that are different. Oh, you got to. It's somebody somewhere is going to come up with a subscription service manager that's going to allow you to consolidate everything into a single kind of package.
And that program will be called Skynet.
Yes, very true. I mean, we've just had Apple One launch in the UK. Their unified subscription thing, and it makes sense financially. It makes sense because it will save me money because I do subscribe to music for the family and the extra cloud storage and Apple TV. And if I pay them $19.99 a month, I get all of that. Plus, I also get Apple Arcade, which will keep the kids happy. So, so it's just the way that everything's going. But individual instruments, not so much. I don't know, Chris. What do you think, Chris?
I didn't get to take a look at it, so we'll have to defer to you guys on this.
Mm-hmm. Well, I wonder how long it's going to be before, like the likes of Steinberg and the DAW companies go down the Adobe Creative Cloud route.
Well, Pro Tools is doing that, right?
Yeah,
got a subscription.
Are they?
And I know of one other that is very close to launching a subscription version of their thing, but I can't say because I've signed my life away. But next month, I believe, a very popular music production tool will launch their subscription service, which will run concurrently with a perpetual license. So you can carry on doing what you want to do if that's how you want to do it. But if you go to subscription, you'll get the benefit of added things thrown in for free or as part of the package, as I say, and also benefit from rolling updates rather than point releases. You'll always have the latest version of it. So.
Yeah, I mean, Creative Cloud is fantastic. Yeah. If somebody can pull off the same thing with music software, it'd be brilliant. But I don't think Roland Cloud is quite right, and this particular thing, this Vital, seems a little bit complicated, really.
Yeah. It's interesting, and the other thing I like about this is that it's not only just Mac and Windows, but it's Ubuntu Linux as well. that there's a version for that. So they are taking into account that it's not just people on Windows and Mac that make music, and the Linux, particularly Ubuntu Linux, is an incredibly popular way of doing it. I just like the interface on this. It's nice and clean and well laid out, and I like that. I mean, my eyes are getting progressively worse, so anything that simplifies the process, and this kind of flat design is quite common these days. So I like that, and it does sound very unique in many ways, and it sounds not so unique in others. But yeah, there you go. So we've got about 20 minutes to go here. I just wanted to throw this one in. You guys don't know anything about this because I forgot to add it in. But there's been another demo of this synth that is on my top of my bucket list. I'm literally a gnat's ballsack away from clicking the go button on purchasing this. But I thought this demo literally is like, oh yeah, I've got to have this. I don't care. I've got to have this because it sounds absolutely amazing. So I'm just going to play you a little bit of this demo, get you some feedback on this, and see what you guys think. So let me just make sure I've got the correct tab and the volume set here. So this is the Essence FM from Kodamo. This is brilliant new demo. Demo coupled with some aviation footage, which I have I do have a soft spot for the sounds and the visuals that are shown here. But yeah, it's a really nice demonstration because it highlights throughout the video what's going on. I thought the drums on this were excellent. 25 split zones on that drum kit there, and then various patches popping up throughout where he describes, for example, sparkle bells, 4 delayed layers there. This Evo pad is 7 layers, 42 operators, all going off at the same time. 320 note polyphony this instrument has, and I forget how many parts multi-timbral it is. It's just sounds amazing, and then coupled with these visuals. Now, I don't know if you guys are aware, there was a website called You Are Listening To, and it combined still images of American street or cityscapes coupled with ambient music and police emergency service radio on top as well. And it sounds really bizarre, but it's something you really ought to try. It's very calming and relaxing, and that kind of reminded me of that. First of all, thoughts on that particular demo. Marshall, I'm going to come to you first on this one. What do you think of that demo and of the EssenceFM as an instrument?
So the EssenceFM, the instrument, actually has got my attention. I'm like you, Robbie. I kind of want to get one of these.
Yeah.
Because I think it's got a really interesting interface, which has always been kind of my biggest gripe with FM in general. Not the way it sounds, but the way instruments have been designed to really get at it. This, I think, has a really innovative and interesting interface. As to the demo, I think it sounds beautiful. That's a the ambient stuff is what I really enjoyed. The FM percussion, I'm kind of like, but the ambient stuff sounded really nice in there.
Yeah, it's nice. Chris, what do you think of that? I don't know if you had a chance to view it beforehand.
Yeah, it's lovely. I think I had posted on our group about it too, that it was nice to hear some FM doing something. I love 80s synth pop and all of that, but it was great to hear it doing something different, and I really liked the music they had for that. So just saying in the chat, like I've flown into that airport many times.
Yes.
So it's familiar with that view.
Yeah. Ben?
I thought it sounded amazing. It sounded very 80s, didn't it? I imagined it to be like one of these like weird documentaries that you find when you've completely done Netflix and you go into the documentaries from like 20 years ago. It has that soundtrack. Yeah. And I can imagine watching it on VHS as well, so it just wobbles a little bit.
Yeah.
The pitch.
A little bit of tracking, yeah.
Yeah. But it had an amazing like retro quality about it where I don't know why, but I don't think of it as of FM as being a retro thing. No. It's like a newer thing.
Yeah.
And it's been around for ages.
Yeah.
So when it has this like real like kind of retro tone to it and that, I'm quite surprised. Yeah. So yeah, I loved it. I thought it sounded great.
I mean, I'm a sucker for a good demo, and that was a really good. It's one of the best demos of that machine that I've seen since it was first announced. Because it's just so kind of emotionally evocative and. And because now you can get EssenceFM, you can order EssenceFM Mk.II, pre-order it now between now and December 16th. So you've got like 10 days, and you can get it for €300 off the full price. If you pre-order, you get it for €1,090, not $1,390, and that's the Mk.II. It comes with everything you need, and these newly designed supports that replace the feet that it used to have, and removable rack mount ears. And I'm looking at it, I'm thinking it would literally sit on the corner of this right here, and that would, because it's multi-timbral, hugely polyphonic, I might not need anything else. I mean, I might sell the rest of this stuff, who knows. But yeah, it's can
I have the DX5 if you do, and the Furlough?
Yeah, I'll have an auction. But what it reminded me of, and I wanted to just throw this up here because sometimes I forget about this website, and then when I find it, I just lose myself in it. So there's this website called You Are Listening To. So it's youarelistening.to, and you get these. These are generally still cityscape images of generally US cities, and what it does is it uses an algorithm to scour SoundCloud for ambient tracks, and it will then just randomly go through, and if you don't like it, you can skip it to the next one. And then underneath, you have a choice of, in this case, this is the LAPD South Bureau Emergency Services Radio, which is publicly available. You're not doing anything illegal by listening to this. And so you press play, and you get this ambient music and this nice kind of cityscape thing, and then you get in the background you get the emergency services radio. It sounds a bizarre concept, but trust me, try it, and it's amazingly interesting. And there's also an app. If you're into an app, there's this guy based his app on it, and it's called LA View, and you can choose different cities on this one with different cityscapes and different emergency service radios, but it does the same thing. Utterly fascinating to listen to. Just go through the comments here. So Dr. Synth, Mr. Manny Fernandez says, Robbie, just do it already. Yeah, but it's a lot of money. I get scared when I spend lots of money.
Should we have a little role play preparation?
Yeah.
Now, Robbie, how is this one different than the other ones that you have?
It can do 320 notes of polyphony.
But by the way, speaking of FM, on Jamie's show, which was just before ours, he's got the Op6, and he showed off a couple patches that he had made, just like the first stuff that he had done with it after getting it this week, and really beautiful pads. And with the filters, I think he was using a notch filter maybe on one of them. Mm-hmm. It takes you into, it's like, wow, there's this beautiful soundscape, but then you're hearing filters that sound like analog synthesizers over a tone that is, FM. It was very nice.
Yeah, I must admit, that when that came out, I was like, oh, now do I go for the Op6, and it's obviously a lot cheaper, or do I go for the Essence, and it's way more complex. But
320 note polyphony, just think of that.
I was thinking about this the other day. So when I first started buying professional synthesizers, one of my first ones was a Roland Sound Canvas. And I know that the term professional synthesizer and Roland Sound Canvas might not go well together, but compared to what I'd had in the past, this was the first kind of proper thing. And it was, what was it, 64-note polyphonic, 32-part multi-timbral. And then they did later versions that were 128-note polyphonic and 32-part multi-timbral. And I just got into this zone where if a synthesizer wasn't at least 16 or 32-note polyphonic and 16 or 32-part multi-timbral, then it was limited and shackled in some way. But of course, once we got out of that realm of the multi-tasking workstations, which I guess that's where all of that came from, and we got back into analog synthesizers and boutique type synthesizers that do very unique and special things, then polyphony and multi-timbrality started to drop way down the list. And then here comes this, and there are a few others instruments out there at the moment that are hugely polyphonic and hugely multi-timbral, and you literally can do everything in one place. It's got the effects, it's got all the voices, you've got this huge kind of brilliant interface, and all in one unit. And I guess that's one of the things that also attracts me, other than the fact that it's kind of an FM thing. Just a thought. Don't just nod, go.
Very nice.
Yeah. I was reading the chat room.
I'm trying to go through here. So, for those that don't know, Dr. Synth, who is in our chat room, is Manny Fernandez. And if you don't know who Manny Fernandez is, I suggest you go and learn. I did a whole podcast with him on the Sound on Sound website. But Manny has programmed patches for pretty much every Yamaha synthesizer, from the Mk.II DX7 right up to Montage and Modi X. Not just FM stuff, but also the physical modeling stuff as well. So, what Manny doesn't know about FM is just not worth knowing.
I don't know how widespread the reference would be, but this would be the time we go, we're not worthy. We're not worthy. Yeah. We suck. Absolutely. We're scum.
I mean, if you go to Manny's YouTube page, he does some stuff on there with FM that makes physical modeling. He does these things. I can do physical modeling stuff with FM, and it's just amazing stuff. But he's commented in here that it's nice that new things like Essence and Op6 are bringing new FM sounds to a wider audience who didn't know that they have been there all along, and they have. You just kind of have to dig in. But I guess raising the complexity of FM to the surface and making it usable is great. I know that I do go on about FM a lot, and I must stop. But there you go. Just trying to fill time. We've got a few more minutes to go. Anything else that anybody wanted to kind of throw in before we shut down for the night?
I'm just glad that Robert not only got the reference, but then went even further and deeper into Wayne's World.
Indeed. Indeed.
What about Synthmaster? Are we not?
Oh yes, we didn't mention Synthmaster. Yeah. So I forgot to put that one on the list. So Synthmaster, as he says, tapping this in quickly, is kv331audio.com, and currently there's a winter sale on where you can get Synthmaster Player absolutely free of charge. Let's bring that up here. There you go, Synthmaster, December 1st to January 4th. That also includes their iOS stuff as well. So let me just bring that back up to the screen. So, how many of these have we got to go through? Might as well just reload the page. It was there. Let's go Synthmaster 1. So yeah, Synthmaster itself, the full-blown synth, is now currently down to $59. Or you can cross-grade from Synthmaster 1, which is a slightly cut-down version, or Synthmaster Player, which is just like a playback version, so there's not a huge amount of stuff you can do with it. You can cross-grade from 49, but the Christmas sale, I'll just get rid of this here and go back.
It's fairly expensive for what it is.
You can
grab the whole bundle really cheap, and I probably end up using, although it's not one of my most used synthesizers, like the Synthmaster 1, I do end up using that here and there. It's good. It's pretty good sounding. And then it comes, if you're a preset player, it comes with a ridiculous amount of presets with it. But I think the player version that's free has like 1,800.
Yeah, so it's a huge amount of stuff, and it's completely free. And then everything else has been discounted. And I'm fed up of clicking this thing to keep coming back. But
that's a pretty good deal, yeah.
Yeah, and the iOS version is down from 20 to 10, or from 10 to 5 if you go for the player version on there. So yeah, it's a really cool package. It's one of those. It's kind of like a paint by numbers kind of scenario. You just pick. There's loads of presets. I'm sure you'll find one that you want to use, and then
the browser's really good on it.
Yeah,
I thought the sound quality is amazing. I've paid like a lot of money for things that are only as good as this. They're not better than it. It's on a par with the likes of Nexus and stuff like that, I'd say. And even on the free one, there is limited editing possibilities on it. I thought it was really, really good. I'd be interested in buying the full price version of it now, which is why they're giving it away, isn't it?
Of course,
obviously, because it's
and I think when you brought this up, I said, they're doing that again because they do discount it on a fairly regular basis, and I guess it just hoovers up a few more users into the free paradigm, and then just they obviously know that a percentage of those will sign up for the bigger versions, which is always good.
Really good.
So kv331audio.com, and you can avail yourself of that. There are still some really good deals to be had, even though Black Friday and Cyber Monday are long gone. Christmas, of course, January sales as well. Everyone's trying to get your dollars or your pounds. So there you go. And we are out of topics. So I guess we wrap this one up now. Marshall.
Yes.
Thank you ever so much for joining us. We felt we needed to do the synth community a service. They were expecting a helping of Marshal Arnold this weekend. Unfortunately, you had technical issues getting onto Jamie's show, so we stepped in, dragged you in here, and everyone's had a bit of you. Have you got anything lined up for between now and the end of the year? Anything fancy apart from obviously the holidays?
Just working on some more demos of that beautiful Prophet 10 and the Korg ARP 2600. I've got some plans with those two and a Blue ARP and some other stuff. So
nice. How is the Blue ARP coming along, by the way?
Oh, it's coming along great. I think the firmware in it's pretty much done.
Cool.
I think there's a few minor tweaks Oleg's working on for the CV stuff, but otherwise, for all intents and purposes, for what I do, it's pretty much done. So now he's working on there's going to be a control software that comes with this.
Okay.
So he's working on that right now. I think that's hopefully it'll be done early next year sometime.
Nice.
So hopefully folks will be able to start placing pre-orders next year.
Excellent. Good.
Yeah.
Well, let us know, and we'll get you back on to give us a demo when it's all put to bed.
Awesome.
Brilliant. Thanks ever so much for coming on, Marshall. Really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Ben, you've been working this week on new set lists for your new band. Is that right?
Yeah. It's well, we're gonna try and get an album out before Christmas, so that's the priority.
That's ambitious.
Yeah, I know it's totally ridiculous, really, but. We're going to try. So we're all working separately, obviously with the COVID thing. So we've got like Phil's doing bits at his house, Andy's recording bits of vocals at his house, and it all comes to me in stems and MIDI, and I've got to try and make some sense out of it all. And I'm enjoying it though. I sound like I'm complaining, but I'm not.
Well, as soon as it's ready, we get first dibs.
Yeah.
We get first
sounded
dibs.
good.
We get a
really
preview. Excellent stuff, Cryss. Thanks for you've double streamed tonight. So hope you go and put your feet up for the rest of the day. I'm sure.
Heck yeah. It's been a fun day though, and just chatting with everybody over on Jamie's show and here, and everybody in the chat room. We all appreciate you guys a lot, and it's a lot of fun. I'm looking. This is a fun month. I've had like a really crazy week. A lot of other stuff going on, but just hearing everybody's news, looking for things that are coming out. Marshall working on those classic synthesizers. Aaron said that he's got another album coming out this month, so I'm really looking forward to that. I think it's the Point Surrender one, right? If he can let us know in there.
Yeah, the sci-fi music, but the nice one, right?
Yeah.
Instead
I think
of his imperfect one, which is more the dark, the Point Surrender.
I think it's the Point Surrender one. So
yeah,
that'll be great. And for me, like probably something we could have talked about was, or maybe we'll talk about it next week, was all the Black Friday and Cyber Monday stuff. So that was fun. Got some really cool stuff, and I'm just trying to find the time right now to sit and make music, because there's so many fun things that I picked up, including GeForce Mtron Pro. I just picked up the whole package of it, and I've barely gotten to crack it, but wanna fire that up and some bucket pops and have some fun.
Excellent.
Yeah,
excellent.
Yeah.
So I've hopefully, fingers crossed, touch wood, got an announcement that I'm going to be able to make on Friday, the 11th. Which is super exciting for me anyway, and hopefully you might find it interesting, but I can't say until then. So I guess I'll put something on the ProSynth Network page, and then we can talk about it on the show. But it was a really fantastic kind of thing to kind of happen. So yeah, we'll talk about it then. I can't say anything else. I'm bound legally. But lots of great messages in the chat room. Thank you guys. And as Wagyu says, remember to leave a like. Please, just press the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. If you want to make donations, then we have, as we said before, we've got our link down below there, which is also in the YouTube description as well, and we'll have that all for you. And thank you ever so much for coming along as per usual. We will see you same time, same place next week. I don't think there's anything else to say, but see you then. Have a great, safe week, and stay very healthy, and we'll see you next time. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.